I'm in the very cozy home of Paula Kornell of Paula Kornell Sparkling Wine. Paula, good to finally catch up with you.
Oh, I'm so glad we could do this.
So am I. This is a lovely home. Acoustically, this is perfection for an audio guy because it's just a very dead sound, which I love.
Oh, my God. I'm shocked that you say that.
Oh, not at all. It's great. So thank you for having me over here. Today is the day after Premier Napa Valley, after the auction. And, now most of the craziness is done. You guys get to kind of breathe a little bit, don't you?
Oh, my God. We survived. It's a fabulous week for Napa Valley and our Napa Valley wines to shine, but it's exhausting at the same time. Last night I was thinking it must be like what politicians feel like as they're shaking hands, saying hi to old friends, making new friends. And I don't know how they do it for a long period of time.
Well, except for this is more fun.
Much more fun. With a glass of wine in your hand, it's always much more fun.
It's always fun with wine, yeah.
Yeah.
Sparkling wine has become a much more popular wine, thank God, these days.
Yep.
I'm a fan. I think there was a time when, one, it was celebratory. It's not like I'm telling you something you don't know. But also men didn't seem to get into it as much as they are now. Is that something you experienced?
I would say that's true. I grew up in the sparkling business. My father was the first method champenois producer here in Napa Valley. So it's been in my blood. And for years, of course, I did work at the winery and did everything at the winery, but those last years of Hans Kornell, it was just that. You were trying to explain to people that it wasn't just celebratory, that it was something that you could drink with every meal or at any time. And I also, after Hans Kornell, I worked for Joseph Phelps, and we had rosé that we made. You couldn't give a bottle of rosé away.
Really?
Now, this is 92, I'm thinking about.
Yeah, okay.
And now what? We all drink copious amounts of rosé, and we drink quite a bit more sparkling wine. Thank God.
You grew up here in Napa Valley, which I think just blows my mind a little bit. What was it like growing up here?
It was fabulous. I guess as a kid, though, you don't realize how fabulous it is. There was very few winemaking families. My parents were there. They were great friends with everybody. The Robert Mondavis and my parents would switch every year for New Year's parties. The kids, we all grew up together. So the Heitzes, the Martinis, the Mondavis, the Travers, all of us that's all we knew. My playground was the winery. Yes, so we had peacocks growing up on my family's property. So I would sell peacock feathers, walnuts, and prunes in front of the tasting room of Hans Kornell. You didn't know that wasn't a normal thing to do. You didn't sell Girl Scout cookies. That's what. But it was very. We were outside. I mean, most of us spent most of our time playing outside and being in the vineyards or being in the winery, running around and playing hide and go seek.
To be able to grow up in a place like this outside, somewhere like myself, I'm from the Midwest, we didn't have bears, rattlesnakes, or anything like that. It's a dumb question to ask, but was that something that was a huge concern, or you just didn't think anything of it?
Well, it was a concern. My mother especially, I grew up with horses and donkeys and the whole works, and I was the one that wanted to be friends with every animal. So I think they were all freaked out that someday I'd come home with a snake. Yeah. Peacocks and mongoose kill rattlesnakes, so that's why we had peacocks. And to go full circle, I just got rid of my peacocks here because during COVID, I thought that would be a great idea to have, and that wasn't such a great idea. There was a proliferation of peacocks for quite a while.
Okay, all right.
Just because of the rattlesnakes.
Oh, funny. Wow.
See what you learn about Napa Valley? I grew up on the eastern side of the valley, and that side is much more dry, and there was quite a few more rattlesnakes than there are on this side.
But the other side of that coin is you're talking about playing outdoors, and this is a nature playground, isn't it?
It sure is. Between the vineyards, the mountains, we're just very, very lucky that we have so many opportunities. I mean, if you want to be skiing, you're 4 hours away. The coast is 2 hours away. We are, back to the question of how growing up, I don't think we knew how lucky we were to have all that available.
Well, let's talk about Bubbles and this family starting out in Bubbles, which I imagine was kind of, breaking new ground.
But my father came from Germany. His parents and grandparents all made sect in Germany, so that's what he grew up doing. I don't know if he had intended to come to the United States in the first place, but he was one of those unlucky fellows that got caught and was in Dachau for 18 months.
Oh, no.
So was cross-country skiing with his cousins and thrown in just before the war. So it was when anybody had a problem with the Reich at all. So it was also at a time where they could be bought out eventually. So after 18 months, my grandparents were able to get him out.
Really?
Yes, it was a strange period.
It was almost like a kidnapping.
It was almost in a way, it seemed like that. I always thought that something else was going on. So given 24 hours to get out of Germany, I went to London to help a gentleman build wine cellars, and then eventually came to the United States with really nothing in his pocket. Unfortunately, my grandparents were taken to Auschwitz a couple months afterwards. So it was, a tragic period of time. The joke in my family is I grew up Catholic. My mother's from the Bay Area and homesteaded in Napa Valley, her family, but grew up Catholic. My mother was a better Jew than my father ever was. He didn't know anything. So, but anyway, he started in the Midwest first, working in Ohio for Cook's Imperial. Eventually hitchhiked to California, where he started his first winery in Sonoma, where the Safeway store is now. He started his first winery called Hans Kornell, third generation. Eventually met my mother, whose family, as I said, homesteaded here, and then moved to St. Helena, where he bought the old Larkmead cellar, which was a storehouse for Italian Swiss colony, which now we know is Frank Family Vineyards. But that was the old Hans Kornell champagne cellars. So that was 58 that he started there, and so he was the first method champenois producer here in Napa Valley. Schramsberg came a few years later. The Schrams had a winery there, but then when the Davies came, that was a few years later.
Was it in your mind preordained that you would enter the wine business, or was it this kind of
I think it was not really. I think that was always something in the back, maybe in my mind, that maybe there'd be that. But I was more interested in, as time went on and during school, it was all international relations, hospitality, worked in many hotels, then worked in New York for Sherry Lehman on Madison Avenue. Oh, wow. And then eventually did come home and was very happy to work for my family and my family business. Once I realized what a great thing I had going, that this was crazy not to be in it. And I always worked at the family winery. So from anything, we did everything. So from riddling bottles, that's why I have carpal tunnel to this day, to getting my pigtails stuck in the labeling line, to giving tours, to cleaning toilets. It's a family business.
Sure, yeah.
You've interviewed many people that we've all come from the bottom up, and that we certainly did the bottom up.
How many years has Paula Kornell as a company existed?
Yeah, my first vintage was 2017, and that I released Blanc de Noir with a good friend of mine, Gary Fish, had a store here in St. Helena. Sure. And I was very happy on his opening day to be able to bring my first cases of 2017 Blanc de Noir. And it reminded me of my father's stories of him and his station wagon and his German Shepherd going to Nob Hill to the Mark Hopkins and delivering champagne. And there I was going to Gary's with my English Bulldog in the car. And so 2017 is when the Blanc de Noir started. Valentine's Day of 2020 is when the California Brut was released.
Nice. What kind of a reaction did you get? I mean, again, commonly, Napa's not known for bubbles.
I have to say, I was shocked at how open-minded and how warmly received. I figured that the name Hans Kornell was not dead, but that it was very much in the past, and how that name brought back so many great memories.
Paula, for our listeners who'd like to learn a little bit more about you, about your bubbles online, what's your website?
PaulaKornell.com.
Excellent. This is very charming being here in your home. I appreciate your opening the doors for me when I knocked, and thank you for taking the time.
My pleasure. I thank you for being here, too.